TFA fam, it's your boy Kev back in with another video. Today we're going to be discussing some late round wide receivers that you should be targeting in your upcoming draft. Remember, we're only looking for ceiling, no floor. Let's ride. All right, welcome back into the video. I appreciate everybody checking it out. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Like I said, today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite late round wide receivers you should be targeting in your upcoming draft. Listen, I am not looking for guys like Emmanuel Sanders or John Brown, those guys that you've heard of. We know their name, but they're going late. Those provide very little upside, right? And that's what we're looking for in these late rounds. We're looking for that golden ticket, right? We're looking to go to Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, okay? We're looking to go to the promised land, the championship. So you can't get there by getting guys like John Brown, who, yes, are going to have some weeks that you may want to play them, but more often than not, they're just going to be guys that get you 8 fantasy points. Now, I get on the other flip side of that, a lot of these guys are going to be duds, but who cares? We're talking about 11, 12, 13th round picks. These guys are, if you have to drop them, you have to drop them. So it is what it is, but that's what we're looking for. We're shooting for straight ceiling here. So that's what these guys are. So let's just jump right into the list. We're going to start things off with my guy, Mike Williams. He's currently going 905 or wide receiver 40 in terms of fantasy football calculator ADP. If you go back and look in 2020, in 14 games he played in, he had 11 fantasy points per game, which is 49th, 151 fantasy points overall. Played primarily on the outside, only 98 slot snaps, so he didn't play a ton there, but 15.8 yards per reception, which is 15th among all, 85 targets, 48 catches, 756 receiving yards, 5 total touchdowns. He had about 16% target share, which was 65th among all wide receivers, but he had 1,255 air yards, which was 12th. So he also had 22 deep targets, which was 12th among all wide receivers. Now, listen, last year wasn't a great year for Mike Williams, okay, for overall, right? He had a couple of good weeks, but overall, he just wasn't what you were necessarily looking for at the position. However, he's in this great offense. This offense is going to be better in 2021 with second year Justin Herbert. They added third round pick Josh Palmer, but other than that, this offense is pretty much the same. Other than the fact where they made the big upgrade was getting Rashawn Slater in the first round. Not to mention the fact that they added Corey Linsley and Matt Filer as well. So this offensive line is completely remade, and it's going to be one of the better offensive lines in all of the league. So it should give Justin Herbert more time to throw the ball, which should allow Mike Williams to catch more passes in 2021. I think there's a real possibility to look at. He probably is going to get over 100 targets this year, and getting a guy this late on this offense is something that I am definitely want to get my hands on. So, if you go running back heavy early, if you're looking for some later round wide receivers, I'm starting with Mike Williams. Absolutely love his upside for 2021. I think he could be a solid wide receiver 3. As you can see, TFA has him as a wide receiver 48. I personally have him at wide receiver 38, right outside of a top 36 wide receiver. So get you some Mike Williams. Let's keep it moving, shall we? Now, the next guy we're going to talk about is a guy that I feel like that is already the number one wide receiver on their offense, but this entire offense is being undervalued. Some of it's because Carson Wentz got hurt, but good news is Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson, who both got injured earlier in training camp, are back and ready and are going to begin practice on Monday. So that is good news for this entire offense. This entire offense is being undervalued right now, but Michael Pittman didn't do a ton in his rookie year. 40 receptions, 503 yards, 1 touchdown in only 13 games played, 7.6 fantasy points per game, but he was impressive with 290 yards after the catch, which is 32nd among all wide receivers, with a 1.65 fantasy points per target, which isn't great, but I think you can expect him to take a big leap this year. Good news is that he is healthy, and he has been getting a lot of really good reports outside of camp. He has that prototypical signs to be that alpha outside X wide receiver, but can also go inside and into the slot and play there as well. So I really like Michael Pittman this year, getting a team's wide receiver 1. I think this offense is going to be better this year with the likes of Carson Wentz and company. So I like this offense. This entire offense is being undervalued. I could also have Paris Campbell on this list. I do not, but I love Paris Campbell as well and his upside. He's going 2 or 3 rounds later than what Michael Pittman is going, but give me Michael Pittman, a team's wide receiver 1, going in almost the 10th round. So absolutely love that. Let's keep it moving. The next guy I want to talk about is Darnell Mooney. Listen, I absolutely love Darnell Mooney. He was a guy I loved coming out of Tulane and was very undervalued anyways. He was a 5th round pick, but there wasn't a lot of hype surrounding his name in 2020. But listen, I mean, this is a guy who played on an offense that was primarily a run heavy. I mean, they averaged 46 rush attempts per game and only 23 pass attempts, but he still managed in his junior year to have over 993 receiving yards, and then with double-digit touchdowns. And also in his senior year, he also racked up almost a little over 700. But for a guy who played on an offense that never threw the ball, I mean, he was able to produce. So love Darnell Mooney in this offense. 61 receptions, 631 receiving yards last year, 4 touchdowns. Now, he wasn't very efficient. He did see a lot of deep targets, 23 deep targets, which was 11th most among all wide receivers. But the fact that this offense was terrible last year with Mitchell Trubisky, with Nick Foles, now you get a short spree probably with Andy Dalton, and then we're going to see Justin Fields sooner rather than later. And so I think when Justin Fields steps on this field, I think we should be able to see him support 2 wide receivers here. There's not a whole lot past that. There's not really a great tight end. I love Cole Kmet as a late round guy, but he's not like he's an established name either. So I think you could probably be looking somewhere in the 100, 115 range of targets for Darnell Mooney in 2021. So again, absolutely love getting my hands on Darnell Mooney. So let's keep it going to the next guy that I think is just being criminally undervalued right now, and that's Will Fuller. Will Fuller has been explosive, and when he's on the field, now keyword on the field, when he's healthy, he is a mega producer. I mean, he was 17.7 fantasy points per game last year, 7th most among all wide receivers, but he only played in 11 games. We know he got suspended, so he is suspended for week 1 of this year, but we have him at wide receiver 30, but right now he's going much later than that. 95 slot snaps, 16.6 yards per reception, which was 10th most among all wide receivers, 75 targets, 53 receptions, 879 receiving yards, 21% target share in Houston with 8 total touchdowns. He did have 15 deep targets, 8 red zone targets, but he had a 2.36 yards per route run, which was 11th among all wide receivers, and 274 yards after the catch, which is impressive at only 11 games. Now he moves on to Miami. I absolutely love this Miami offense, investing in pieces here, and it starts with Will Fuller. The fact that this man is going in the 11th round, 1101, wide receiver 49, is criminal. This dude has definite wide receiver 2 upside in this offense, and you're getting him in the 11th round. Take all the Will Fuller that you possibly can get. Truly believe Tua will take a step forward this year. So absolutely love me some Will Fuller. All right, keep it moving here. Let's talk about 2 guys that didn't do a damn thing last year, but both of them could be in for a big bounce back year in 2021 after their rookie seasons. Marquez Callaway was an undrafted free agent, 6'1", 205. He ran a 4.55 40, 82nd percentile burst score, 21 receptions last year on 27 targets, 213 yards, no touchdowns. But he has been absolutely crushing it in Saints camp. Right now, he looks like he's going to be the wide receiver 1, at least until Michael Thomas comes back, if Michael Thomas comes back, with all the drama surrounding that. But regardless of that, he was productive at Tennessee. It was just a bad offense. He was at 19.4 breakout age, which is almost 80th percentile, 33.1 college dominator, and 19.0 yards per reception. So listen, he went undrafted, but he's going right now 1208 or wide receiver 56. And I like Marquez Callaway. Again, taking another shot on a guy. Now, I don't know how great this offense is going to be. It's going to be interesting to see whether it is going to be Jameis or Taysom Hill. But either way, I think Marquez Callaway is probably in line to see 6 to 8 targets per game. 12th round guy, I'm buying that. So get you some Marquez Callaway. The next guy is probably the guy who's received some of the most hype, especially recency, and that's Bryan Edwards. Love Bryan Edwards. Love Bryan Edwards coming out. I still believe in him. He only had 15 targets last year, 11 receptions for 193 yards and a touchdown. He was dealing with a lot of injuries, but he had a solid 1.93 yard per route run. But listen, if you're not familiar with Bryan Edwards, this dude is 6'3", 212 pounds, ran a 4.53 40, and has a 103.4 speed score, which is 80th percentile. He absolutely dominated in college. 48.4 college dominator, 94th percentile. An absolute ridiculous 17.8 breakout age, which is 100th percentile, which is the best ever recorded by any. This dude was 17 years old and balling out in the SEC, which is very, very impressive. He has a 29% target share while in college, which is also an 80th percentile. Listen, the guy didn't do shit in his first year. I get that. That's the argument against him. But the talent, the upside is there. He was injured. He was not able to do the combine, which is what caused him to drop to the 3rd round. Then he was having a great camp last year, got hurt early in the year, and then never really recovered after that. He had a little splash game late in the year, but other than that, Bryan Edwards did not live up to the hype. I get that. But he's still going in the late 13th, almost 14th round. I suspect he's probably going to end up going in the 12th with the hype that he's getting, but I'm still comfortable taking him there. get you some Bryan Edwards, because I think he really could take off this year. He's a perfect complement for Derek Carr and, kind of what they look to do in that offense. He is much more of that short intermediate route guy. I think he's a big time threat inside the red zone at his frame, 6'3", 212 pounds. So I'm okay with taking another shot on this guy where he's going. And if he pays off, he can pay off big time. Let's keep it moving. Let's talk about some rookie wide receivers here. Rondale Moore, Terrace Marshall, and we're going to talk about some Nico Collins before we wrap it up with one more player. Rondale Moore is absolutely electric when he gets the ball in hand, but he is a small dude. But don't get no mistakes about it. He is built different. 5'9", 180 pounds. 36.7 college dominator, which was 72nd percentile out of Purdue. But he did have an anemic 9.4 yards per reception, which was a first percentile. It's about as bad as you can possibly get. You can't get any worse. 29% target share, 81st percentile, 18.2 breakout age, which was 99th percentile. But he has a verified 4.33 40 coming out of high school, but he can squat 600 pounds and bench 300 pounds for a dude that's 5'9", 180 is just ridiculous. However, in 2018, he had 114 receptions, 1,258 receiving yards, a 29% target share, and 12 touchdowns. But then he sort of fell off. He couldn't stay healthy. 4 games in 2019, 3 games in 2020. But listen, he had a 2.25 yards per route run, but he had a 7.0 yards after the catch per reception, which was 50th among all wide receivers, but a 2.6 average depth of target. Listen, 47 of his 117 receptions were screens. Okay, not good. Not good. And so, I mean, you look at most of his production was pretty much schemed, very limited route sheet, only 11 receptions on 20 yards or more in his career, right? So they just use them, in short and intermediate routes, and that's all they pretty much use him as. Now, does that mean there's a death sentence for him and the next level? No. But I think they kind of use him a little bit like the Chiefs used Tyreek Hill in his first year. I think they're going to be doing whatever they can to manufacture him touches, get the ball in his hands. So far in preseason, 44 of his 47 snaps have all come from the slot. So I think you can expect him to be there. Probably DeAndre Hopkins with AJ Green on the outside. So I love Rondale Moore and just kind of the dude's absolutely electric. I think they're going to do whatever they can to get the hands in space or get him the ball in space. And I think in PPR formats, I think that's going to be a good thing because they're really going to do whatever they can to get him the ball. And I also think you could probably see some carries for him as well. So get some Rondale Moore where you can get him. Now, the next guy is Terrace Marshall. Listen, this is a pro Terrace Marshall show. I absolutely love Terrace Marshall, and I think that he's absolutely undervalued or was undervalued heading into this. 6'3", 200 pounds, 46.5 college dominator, 92nd percentile at LSU with a 15.2 yard per reception and 19.2 breakout age. In 2019, with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, with Justin Jefferson, 46 receptions, only 61 targets, 671 receiving yards, about 13 touchdowns. The dude is just explosive inside the red zone. He is a problem. 7 games in 2020, 48 receptions, 70 targets, 731 receiving yards, and again, 10 touchdowns with a 16.6 target share. Listen, I mean, he had 9 contested catches his last year at LSU, which was 17th among all wide receivers, but he only had a 9.4 average depth of target, which is 271st. Listen, the dude has an absolute big catch radius, made plays in traffic, 25 catches on 41 contested targets over the past 2 years. He has a rare size and speed, cooks corners off the line. He offers terrific size, physicality, hands, ball skills, run after the catch ability, route running skills, and he's just a refined technician at the wide receiver position. And I think that he's going to be an absolute problem. We've already seen it in preseason. He's made a couple explosive plays already, and I just love this dude. I know right now he has Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore there to worry about, but I still think over the long haul, I think Terrace Marshall can carve himself out a really nice role in this offense. They don't really have a tight end of consequence. I love Dan Arnold, but Dan Arnold's not getting 80, 90 targets in this offense. So I think he could carve out himself a role of 100, 110 targets in this offense, and I think he could really find a real niche down inside the red zone. So I love Terrace Marshall. Get your hands on him. He is a great late round buy, especially for a guy that is going where he's going in the 13th round of draft. So absolutely love him. The other guy I want to talk about really quick is Nico Collins. He's kind of under the radar guy, 3rd round pick out of Houston, 6'4", 215, but he is an athlete. 74th percentile vert, 76th percentile broad, 76th percentile 40. We ran a 4.43 40 with a 79 percentile cone and a 37th percentile short shuttle. But the problem is he plays on Houston. And he also, much like he did in college, with a 27.3 college dominator, which is 42nd percentile, 19.5 breakout age, but he had 19.7 yards per reception, 92nd percentile, and a 14.4 target share while he was at Michigan. But listen, that Michigan offense was fucking terrible. All right, just awful. And it's a shame that he comes in to this situation in Houston where you're looking at Davis Mills as the possible starting quarterback or Tyrod Taylor. So I like Nico Collins. I think you can take a shot on him late, but I wouldn't expect big time numbers this year just because I don't know if this offense is, I think this offense is going to be terrible. But if you want to take a shot on a guy who could possibly be the number one wide receiver or at worst number two, I think Nico Collins is that guy. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about and wrap this thing up really quickly with Jakobi Meyers. Listen, Jakobi Meyers last year was solid. 11.7 fantasy points per game in only 12 games he played. 287 slot snaps, which was 26th among all wide receivers. 81 targets, 59 receptions for 729 receiving yards. No touchdowns, which really hurt his production because he probably would have been a 13, 14 fantasy points per game guy had he found the end zone. But this offense was terrible last year, as we know. He only had 9 deep targets, 5 red zone targets, but he had a 2.41 yards per route run, which again, you should always be looking at yards per route run, which is a really good predictive stat for wide receivers, which was 10th among all wide receivers. But he's been tearing it up in camp, balling again. This offense, yes, they brought in Nelson Agholor, but I am not buying into Nelson Agholor. Nelson Agholor is not very good. He wasn't very good in Philadelphia. He had one good year with the Raiders. But listen, with Cam Newton, I think you're going to see a lot of heavy dosage for Jakobi Meyers. And then once Mac Jones takes over at whatever time that happens this year, I think that's just even better for a guy like Jakobi Meyers. He's absolutely free, going nearly in the 15th round of drafts. He is getting a little bit of buzz among the community, so I do expect his name to move up a little bit. 14th round, wide receiver 66. I would expect him to probably move up into the 50s, but I love Jakobi Meyers. I'm not a big fan of this offense. And yes, he's going to be competing with targets with guys like Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, but he really showed out last year. He was really impressive and really was kind of their only option last year. And I think that just continues this year. And I think people just forgot about that. He really had some really good games last year, but he just couldn't find the end zone. And that's really not his fault. Like, he was really productive whenever they gave him the ball. So I think Jakobi Meyers takes another step forward this year. And I think he could challenge for 1,000 yards and possibly, 4 or 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. And I think that would be a really solid season, especially for a guy going in the 14th round. So get yourself some Jakobi Meyers. Other than that, those are the guys I got. Those are the 10 guys that I'm going to be looking for in my upcoming drafts. And if you have anybody else, drop them in the comment section below. There's certainly other guys I could have talked about, but these are some of my favorite guys right now. With that being said, I appreciate everybody checking out the video. Make sure you jump into our Discord. The link is going to be in the description below. I'll see you guys over there. Peace.